Today we are going to talk on what is pragmatics and what is speech act. Pragmatics is a branch of linguistics in which we make a systematic study of meaning from the point of view of users. Basically, pragmatics is a branch of semiotics. Semiotics is a study of sign in which we study the relationship of meaning with the sign from different angles. When we study this relationship from the point of view of one sign and the other sign, then that kind of a study is called as semantics. When we study the relationship between the signs from the point of view of its users, then it is pragmatics. And when we try to find out the relation between uh, from the point of view of a structure, that is which sign follows which sign, that is called as syntax. So among these three types of studies, you will find that pragmatics is a kind of a study which has been become a very celebrated, and that's why it is very important to study what is pragmatics. Pragmatics, as we know, it is a study of the contextual use of language. Now, what is contextual use of language? For that, we first must know what is context. Context is a kind of a live experience. Whenever we talk in our day-to-day conversation, we have the idea of the place, we have the idea of the time, and we have the idea of that who is the listener. So place, person, and time. So these are the three important aspects of context. And when we know that, then we understand the full meaning of any kind of utterance. As we know that whenever we utter a particular kind of a word, the listener tries to interpret the meaning of that word from the point of view of the speaker's intention. So, speaker's intention is very important, and that is what we are always in search of. So, pragmatics is a branch of linguistics in which we make a contextual study of meaning. It is also communicative use of language, and that's why pragmatics has become very important in the study of languages. It is a branch of linguistics in which a scientific study of sign and its user is performed. For an example, take the word cat, C-A-T, cat. Now, you will notice that these three letters, C, A, and T, they are basically signs. And when they are placed in such order, that is, A follows C and T follows A, then a particular kind of animal comes in front of our eyes, and that animal does not have any kind of relation with these three letters. Means cat does not have the face like C, the cat does not have the tail like T. Still that animal gets projected in front of our eyes, and that is what is a sign. So sign always tells you something different from what it literally has, what it has. So it is a study of a sign, and the sign has been used by whom? That is very important, because the same word may find different meanings in different context, in different situation. For an example, when we say this is a cat, or when a mother shall say to her daughter that this is a cat, the meaning is that animal. But when in a wrestling match, when uh, the match watcher will say that this is a cat, he means to say that this is a very active man, right? So the meaning of the word cat will change according to the situation, and that is why situation is very important. Moreover, who is uttering that utterance, that is also very important. So, pragmatics is a branch of linguistics in which we make communicative use of language, and also we make contextual meaning of language. Pragmatics, you will notice that speech acts, they are very important. Speech acts almost follows all the principles of Pragmatics. What is Speech Act? The word itself tells you that is speech where the speech becomes act, where speech becomes doing. Doing is speaking is doing. So how is it possible? Many times we know for performing certain kind of actions, what we have to do, we have to do the physical action, and then we find certain kind of changes in our surroundings. For an example, if I place a book from table to the chair, you will say the act has been performed because the change has taken place. Not only the outer change, but it is also kind of inner change, because my mind has also accepted this fact that the book has been transformed from one place to the other place, right? So that thing also happens when we utter certain kind of expressions in our day-to-day life. Moreover, we shall say that there are certain expressions which perform the action, and that is why many philosophers, including J.L. Austin's, who say that this is a kind of a speech act. So how is it possible? So we know that after elections, MLAs, they get elected from their constituencies and they go to Bombay, right? And where swearing in ceremony is performed. In swearing in ceremony, we find certain MLAs, they become ministers. So you cannot call them minister unless and until they administer the oath. They have to take an oath, and when they take an oath, from that moment we can call that this MLA is a minister. So this is a conventional thing. As you will notice that it is a conventional because there you need the conventional speaker, there you need the conventional situation, there you need the conventional time too. So this kind of thing will happen in a conventional manner. We must know that who is the speaker. If the speaker is appropriate one, anybody cannot take the oath of minister. As we know, for being a minister, the eligibility is that he must be an MLA elected from certain constituency. So he is a eligible person to become a minister. Moreover, this event should take place in the morning time, and where the governor of that state, he must be present. So such kind of conventional situation should be there, and from that moment we can call him minister, say of particular ministry, right? So and before that moment you cannot call him as a minister. So that is what is, there are certain events in our life you will find that where utterances, they acquire certain kind of importance. For an example, when we have to name little baby, there is a particular kind of a function ceremony we have to organize. In Marathi we call it bars, that is naming the baby, giving a name to a small baby. As we know, as far as Hindu mythology is concerned, Hindu religion is concerned, we find only the paternal auntie, that is the sister of father, can only name. She can give the name to that baby. She has to utter certain words into the ears of that small baby. And from that moment, that baby is given the name, say, Ramesh or Ganesh or whatever it may be, right? So for such a kind of utterances, when they perform certain kind of act, we notice that they create certain kind of change in the mind of the viewers, the listeners. See, now J.L. Austin has divided speech acts into three categories. Number one is locationary act. What is locationary? It is the act of uttering itself, where we take into consideration only the literal meaning. For an example, if I say the police are patrolling due to pandemic COVID-19. So what is the meaning? The meaning is same. The police are patrolling due to pandemic COVID-19. It's a kind of a declaration where the information that I have given. So you can say that it is a declarative act, declarative speech act. The second kind of speech act is called as Illocationary Speech Act. The act performed in saying something, is called as Illocationary Act. That is, we say something and the meaning is somewhat different. Where we try to find out the intentional meaning. What is the intention of the speaker? For an example, the same sentence. The police are patrolling due to pandemic COVID-19. So if the meaning of that sentence is a kind of a warning, where the speaker wants to say, be careful while going to the market because police are there on the road, they might not let you go. So if this kind of warning you want to give, then we can say that it is an illocutionary speech act, right? So illocutionary speech act is an act where the listener tries to understand the meaning of the expression. He wants to know that what exactly speaker wants to say. For an example, in the afternoon time during summer, if you go to your friend's house, his father is there, and you find that it is very suffocating, so you wish to ask the father to switch on the fan. You cannot ask him directly. So what you generally say, you say, it's very hot today, no? So when you say that, the father, the listener comes to know that you wish him to switch on the fan, right? So that is called as illocutionary force. So illocutionary force is a kind of indirect force of the word. Prolocationary speech act. Prolocationary speech act, as we know, is a kind of an act performed as a result of saying something. The effect, that is the kind of effect exerted on the listener. If the same sentence, that the police are patrolling on the road due to COVID-19, so the effect will be the friend will not go to the market. So this thing is called as the Prolocationary Speech Act. Speech acts can also be divided into Direct Speech Act and Indirect Speech Act. Direct Speech Act is an act marked by a performative verb. Here you will find the word promise is a performative word. There are certain words, they are performative. For an example, I swear, I promise I will come. So if this utterance creates a kind of a promise, then this is a direct speech act. Then what is the Indirect Speech Act? Indirect Speech Act shall take place when you say something and the intended meaning is different one. When there is a difference between the structure of your utterance and the meaning, the intended meaning of the sentence. For an example, generally we know we ask a question for getting answers. For an example, if I ask a question like this, why do not you study? Now this is a question. Grammatically it is a perfect question. There is a WH word first, then it is followed by dummy verb, don't, then it is followed by subject, and then it is followed by the main verb. Why do not you study, right? So the generally we'll expect the meaning, that is somebody will answer that I do not study because this reasons, right? So that doesn't happen. You will find that when father asks this question to his son, why don't you study, the meaning is that the son should study hard. Now it is a question and it expects almost a different kind of intended meaning. That is, here is a kind of order. The father is giving order to his son that he should study hard. So that is called as Indirect Speech Act. So Indirect Speech Act, there may be a indirect speech of like swearing, warning, promising. For an example, if I say that if I say to somebody that I will see you tomorrow. Now this expression, it can be a warning, it can be a threat, or it can be a promise, depending on the situation. Suppose that my friend has owned 5,000 rupees. He has taken 5,000 rupees from me. He borrowed money from me, and now he is not returning money to me. So, if I will say this sentence to that friend that I will see you tomorrow, this is a kind of a warning that he will have to pay the money tomorrow, right? So- and if the same friend is asking money for me from me, and if I will tell him that I will see you tomorrow, so this will be a kind of a promise, because tomorrow is going to get money from me. So it depends on the situation whether it is a promise, or whether it is a warning, or whether it is a kind of a threat. Such kind of multiple meanings are possible from any kind of utterance. Utterance, as we know, words themselves, they don't have meaning as such. Even though in the dictionary we find certain kinds of meanings, they are given, but those meanings, they are not self-sufficient, and words keeps on changing their meanings, taking into consideration the context. So context is very important. Like that, I have given one more example here. Can you turn the sound down? Can you turn the sound down? So it can be a request, it can be an order, it can be a threat, it can be a warning, depending on the situation. So with this, I would like to conclude my speech. Thank you very much.